What is up, YouTube family? Welcome back to Quintessential Sports. And once again, it was Upset City. Now, I told y'all weeks ago, if you do sports betting, you might want to lay low. I tried to warn you. I told y'all this was the upset season. This is Upset City every single week now. And this week was the ultimate because teams are starting to find themselves. I told you teams were starting to figure out who they were. The cream is rising to the top, and it just so happens that every team in the league is trying to rise to the top. But, I mean, it's getting close to the playoffs, so you got to figure that teams are going to start gelling more, and it just so happens that some of the teams that didn't have all their pieces together are starting to get things in order, and they're catching some of these big dogs off guard. I just got in the house, was listening to the Dolphins-Tennessee game, and I didn't even see what happened before the end of the game because I just figured Miami was going to blow them out. That would have been the one game that you would have bet on. It's a lot of people that lost money this week, and I'm so glad I stayed away from it. But guess what? I won money on the Lakers. See, you got to know when to hold them and when to fold them. Kenny Rogers told you way back. That's the rules of gambling, baby. The Dolphins took an L at home to the Tennessee Titans. That's crazy. And who would have even thought that Tennessee's quarterback would have outplayed Tua in this game? He was the best player on the field. And they actually kind of gave a little blueprint. The teams that the Dolphins have lost to, they've shown you how to beat the Dolphins, how to slow down that attack. You got to bracket Tyreek. You got to double them, and you can get pressure on Tua because their offensive line is a little suspect. So force them into the pass and then rush his ass. That's the blueprint of slowing the Dolphins down. Big loss for the Dolphins because, it's like every time they have a chance to become number one in the AFC, they take a L. And what they're showing me is that they are not quite ready. They're going to get in the playoffs, of course, and they're going to, they're going to win one game. They might win two, but they are not quite ready, even though I would like to see them in the Super Bowl versus San Fran. I think that would be a great Super Bowl. But anyway, the other Monday night game was the Packers and the Giants. Once again, you would think that the Giants would take this L and just play for, draft spots at this point. But they're still playing with some heart. I think they've won 3 in a row now, which they fucking up their draft pick. But, it's hard to stop players from competing. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to tank unless you really tell them to tank. But these dudes are athletes. They're competitors. They make money. They got their families watching. They want to show out, especially at home on Monday Night Football. But you just figured that Love and the Packers, the way that they have been playing, they just beat Kansas City last week. You figured they would come in here and get the Giants on the road. But once again, you got to remember that the Packers are a young team. And young teams, they lose to teams that they're supposed to beat, especially when they play on the road. So it wasn't that shocking, but at the same time, it kind of was because of the trajectory of the Packers. Now, they still got a chance to make the playoffs, but that game really hurt them. They really needed to get that one. Let's see. Let's go back to the top. Let's go back to the beginning. What was the very first game? Was the Patriots and the Steelers. Another upset game. Crazy. Everybody picked the Steelers because the Patriots couldn't score more than 10 points. I think they didn't even score last week. Yes, they did. I think they scored 3 or 6, something crazy. They have not been scoring at all. And they come out and they put up 21 points on the Steelers in like the first quarter and a half. They didn't score nothing else the rest of the game, but that was all they needed, was to get those 3 touchdowns, and they won 21-18. Pittsburgh now has lost 2 home games to the sorry-ass Patriots and the sorry-ass Cardinals. What is going on in Pittsburgh? But at the same time, you know, this is a rebuild year. Nobody is expecting anything from the Steelers. The only thing you do expect is for Mike Tomlin to have a winning record. He's never had a losing record. So that's kind of on the line right now, but they got 3 games to figure it out. And most times Mike Tomlin figures it out. So I don't see any issues there, but they got serious quarterback issues. I think we know by now that Kenny Pickett is not the guy. Of course, Trubisky is not the guy. And the Steelers always find themselves in no man's land when it comes to quarterbacks because they're too good to get a good draft pick when it comes to a quarterback. They're never going to be at the bottom of the barrel. They always, like I said, Mike Tomlin's never had a winning record, but that kind of sucks when you're trying to find a quarterback. So what they going to do about a quarterback if they can't draft one high? That tells me that the Steelers are going to be in mediocre land for quite a while. And that's normally what happens to franchises when they lose a superstar franchise QB. You know, when you lose a Peyton Manning, when you lose Tom Brady, when you lose a Ben Roethlisberger, you're not going to be able to replace them just like that. Very rare do you get an Aaron Rodgers replacing Brett Favre. But even with that, they only got 1 Super Bowl in how many years? How many years did Aaron Rodgers play for the Packers? 10 or more. And they only got 1 Super Bowl. So, but 1 is better than 0. So, the Texans at the Jets. Once again, another upset. I think almost every game here is an upset. The Jets playing like shit. Can't beat nobody. Texans on a roll. Got C.J. Stroud playing lights out. And they go on the road and take a vicious L. They lose 30-6. They didn't even score a touchdown. That's crazy. I don't even know what happened in that game. I didn't even see that game. Like, you couldn't pay me to watch that game. But after the Jets beat them, I'm going to have to go look at the highlights and see what the hell happened. That's crazy. Rams and Ravens. Of course, you picked the Ravens at home, but the Rams have been playing a little bit better. You figure it would be competitive, especially with Mark Andrews out. And it was. And they end up going into overtime, and the Ravens win on a walk-off punt return, with the Rams having terrible tackling. So you didn't expect them to go to overtime, but you expected the Ravens to win. So nothing to see there. Ravens are tops in the AFC. Everybody's chasing them now, and they control their own destiny. We will see how they're going to do, but I just don't believe the Ravens are going to be able to make it through the playoffs without Mark Andrews. I'm sorry. Maybe he'll come back, but until then, I just don't believe in the Ravens. Panthers at the Saints. I mean, we could just skip even talking about this game, right? Neither one. Now, I'm going to tell you the thing about the Saints. I already told you about the Panthers. I think the Panthers need to go ahead and get that first pick and get Caleb and replace Bryce. I know a lot of people ain't going to like to hear that, but I just think Caleb is the guy that you need in a Carolina Panthers uniform. You want to win the Super Bowl. You think you're going to win the Super Bowl with Bryce, with little ass Bryce. Crazy. The Saints, I mean, they totally blew it because you would think they had the most talent to win the NFC South, but the Falcons and the Bucks are the ones vying for that title in the NFC South. The Saints, they just had a terrible year, man. They got to make some things happen. Carr is just looks like he's on his last leg. He's about to be in backup quarterback mode. Jameis Winston has always been backup quarterback type. They need a QB, man, and they better hurry up before Kamara's contract runs out. All right, you got the Colts at the Bengals. Another one, another upset. This is crazy. The Bengals, who were struggling, playing with backup quarterbacks, and then you had the Colts, who are also playing with that too. But the Colts been showing crazy life. They've been playing with a lot of heart, and every time you pick them to lose, they win. So this week you picked them to win, and now they lose to the damn Bengals and got whipped too. The Bengals, yo, this is crazy. So you got to give some props to the Bengals. They playing, lights out. I mean, not lights out, but they getting wins without Joe Burrow. But, eventually that bus is going to stop short because it's only so far you're going to be able to go without Joe Burrow. So it's just all fun right now with them and the Colts. The Bucks at the Falcons. I picked the Falcons, thought that they were ready to seize control of that division, and they playing at home. Bucks hadn't really been playing that good, and then you had the Bucks come down there and beat them on the road. And Baker, man, I mean, I like Baker. I think people wrote him off too fast. So I pulled for him to see what he gonna do and get a chance and prove some of these people wrong. So he didn't have a lot of yards, but he went down there and did what he had to do to get the win. And they are in control to get the NFC South, but they got some tough games. Actually, both of them. It's gonna be real interesting. But at the end of the day, it don't really matter because whoever wins the NFC South is gonna be. It's going to be an easy win for whoever plays them in the first round. Got the Jags at the Browns. It's one of them flip a coin games, man. At the end of the day, you probably go with the Browns at home, but you thought with Trevor, they would pull it out, and they almost did. It was 27-31, but you can't forget that the Browns got heart and they got defense. And they kind of like the Colts. Like, as soon as you pick them to lose, they're going to win. When you pick them to win, they're going to lose. Next week, they're going to lose. Watch. And the Lions at the Bears. Man, what happened to the Lions, yo? Looks like they're running out of gas. They started out, 8-3, looking good, playing lights out, playing with all this toughness and energy. And now they playing like they just barely able to make it across the finish line. And that's exactly what it looked like it's going to be, where they're going to make the playoffs, but they barely making it. So it's going to be interesting to see where they can drudge up some energy from, That's where the coach comes in. Good coaching comes in when your team is, ready for the playoffs, but struggling, hitting a low point in the season. Can you get these guys motivated enough to finish the season off strong and pick it back up to get to the playoffs and do some damage? The good thing about the Lions is they don't play good when they're the front runners. They kind of need to be the underdogs. In this particular case, that's what it was. They playing the Bears on the road. They're the favorites, and the Bears mollywopped them. So I think the Lions, now that they're going to be like the underdogs, they might could go back to catching some people sneaking and slipping, and then catching them off guard and coming through the back door and and getting that W. You know what I'm saying? Don't be surprised if the Lions still make a little run and catch somebody sleeping in that first round. You had the Seahawks and the 49ers. We all knew what this was going to be. Brock Purdy is now in the MVP conversation along with Dak. And being that Purdy abused the Cowboys, I would have Purdy as leading the MVP race. A lot of people are not talking about McCaffrey, but you also got Tyreek Hill in there too. I got him number 2, and if he breaks that record, depending on how Brock Purdy plays, I might have to get that MVP to Tyreek. You know what I'm saying? He break that record. Go ahead and give it to the man. The cheetah been doing work this year. You got the Vikings at the Raiders, and they scored 3-0. It's like the lowest scoring game. I think they tied for the lowest scoring game in NFL history. But the Vikings pulled it out. And Vikings, they've been showing heart all year. They started out slow, but they picked up their rhythm and they found that niche, you know. They got some good players, you know. I'm anxious to see what they're going to do next year with a full team when Kirk comes back, because they're building something right now. Their players got a lot of heart, and they're fine-tuning some things without Kirk right now. So by the time he comes back, they're going to be a problem next year. They got Justin Jeffries back this week, but it still didn't matter. It was only 3-0. So Raiders, I don't know what to say about them. You know, they got their new coach, Antonio Pierce, interim coach, and they were all hyped for a minute, but looks like they've run out of gas too, and time to reset the season on them. Had the Broncos at the Chargers, and here we go again with the Chargers. They just cannot find their stride. They just cannot win games, especially at home, that they're supposed to win. Now, we know the Broncos have been back in the mix and are showing some thorough activity. And but you thought the Chargers would have put up a little bit bigger fight than this, and they lose at home 24-7. It's a wrap for the Chargers. It's a wrap for their coach. And that's going to be a good place for people to go to, though. That's going to be a top job for any coach that wants to go and coach Herbert. You know, he's got a lot of potential still. So a lot of people are talking about the Washington job, but a lot of people are going to be looking at San Diego. I know if I had a chance to go to San Diego where the weather was nice, the only problem is you're going to be up against Pat Mahomes every year. So you might not be getting a home field advantage. But in order to be the best, you got to beat the best. So don't be scared. Run to it. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, the Bills and the Chiefs. Speaking of Pat Mahomes, and here goes the big controversy. You know, there was a big flare-up with Pat Mahomes upset with the referee calls, and this is one of the things that people aren't talking about. Everybody's saying that Pat Mahomes threw a temper tantrum and acted like a child and embarrassed himself. What people don't understand is put yourself in his shoes. They have lost crucial games because of terrible referee calls, especially last week. You know, they missed a terrible pass interference call that would have won them the game. You know, so he's got all these things on his mind, all these games where he saw the referee take the game from them. So this one right here did the same thing in his mind. He thought that it was the referee stealing another game from them after they had scored. So in his mind, he was like, yo, this is the third or fourth time. This is crazy. Like, this is out of control. And he blew a gasket, right? Most people are looking at just this one game. But this has been going on for 3-4 games for him. What he didn't understand was this particular game, they actually got the call right. He didn't know that in the moment. You know what I'm saying? But this wasn't about just this one game. This has been building up in him and them for weeks and weeks now. Because they go and look at those other games and the tapes, they see that the referee stole them games. Now, it's not all on the refs. They had to do what they needed to do, too, to win these games. These games shouldn't be as close. Don't put yourself in that situation. But when you lose like that because of a referee call, you going to feel some type of way about it. So don't sit up here and act like you don't have any emotion. You don't have any emotion when it comes to being screwed like that. You know what I'm saying? Of course, you're going to flip you're going to blow a gasket. You know what I'm saying? But overall, he was upset because the refs have messed up their games and lost them games in previous weeks. So this one right here was the icing on the cake. That's why he blew up the way he did. It wasn't just about this one call. You got to understand the context and the mindset of what these dudes are going through, right? This had been accumulating for a long time. Referees been screwing them in the past, right? So this was the one that broke the camel's back, and he went crazy, right? He's like, not again. Y'all not going to steal this from us again. But what he didn't realize was they actually made the right call this time. It's crazy. Now, a lot of people are starting to write off the Chiefs, and they're starting to say that they're cracking and they're not looking the same and things like that. And then what I would tell you is this: don't fall asleep on the Chiefs. Don't get it twisted, because what they will end up doing, and pay attention to this, don't be surprised if the Chiefs use all this media coverage that they're getting, where they hear people calling them crybabies and saying that they're not their former selves or they're not the same. Don't be surprised if all this stuff, the referees being against them, and they use this me against the world mentality to galvanize them and jail, and then make a little run. Because the one team that you don't want to make a run is the Chiefs. And the one team that can flip that switch are the Chiefs. So don't be surprised if you see the Chiefs get back in this thing and start blowing people out. I ain't gonna say blow people out, but start getting these wins and getting these dudes in the playoffs, because the AFC is no definitive team that you really think right now is dominant. So the Chiefs can easily come in the playoffs and beat any of these teams. Baltimore don't have their tight end, even though they look the most dominant right now. Miami taking L's to Tennessee, they suspect. You know what I'm saying? So, and then Buffalo, they might not even make it. The AFC is not looking that strong right now. So Kansas City still has a chance to come and get to the Super Bowl. Don't get it twisted. The only problem is they never played in the playoffs on the road. They gonna have to go on the road this time. But it's still 3 games left, so we'll see. You never know. We'll revisit that, but keep your eye on that. It's going to be interesting to see how the Chiefs bounce back. Are they going to crumble and fall, or they going to galvanize and get stronger? I put my money on it with Andy Reid, Kelsey, and Mahomes. I'm not writing them off. Matter of fact, I'm going to double down on them. I'm going to put some money on them next week. I feel sorry for whoever playing them next week. The Eagles and the Cowboys. Man, now, I picked the Cowboys. I hate the Cowboys, but I picked them. I mean, you can't play with your heart. You know what I'm saying? You got to know what's going on out here. And I told y'all weeks ago, I did not believe in the Eagles. I knew that the Eagles were suspect. And when you saw them play, they almost lost to the Bills. They lost to the Jets. And when they played San Fran, who I think is going to win the Super Bowl, I told y'all weeks ago what San Fran was going to do to Philly. And then you saw them blow Philly out. So when I saw Philly, the results, those little signs, forget their record, but those little signs right there told me that they were going to go in here and lose to Dallas, because Dallas has been playing lights out. They playing the best in the whole league right now. They look like the best team, which kills me to say. But we all know what Dallas, MO is. They always look like they could win the Super Bowl, but they never do in 26 years. So is this going to be the year? The odds say no. If you want to put your money on it, send me a comment. Yeah, hit me up in the comments. Hit me up. I'm taking all bets on Dallas. I do it every year. It's the easiest money you ever make. And this is the best time to bet Dallas. The best time to bet Dallas is when their stock is high, because their fans, they lose their fucking mind. They go crazy. And they start talking that, how about them Cowboy shit again? And they start thinking, oh, we can win the Super Bowl. Go and find you 5 Dallas fans right now. Bet them $100 a piece that they will not win the Super Bowl. And it'll be the easiest $500 you ever made. Trust me. It's been going on for 26 years. Can't lose. Well, the odds say you can anyway. And that's it. It was the upset city. And it's going to be real interesting to see how these last 3 weeks go. It's you got week 15, 16, 17, 18. It's actually 4 weeks left. And it's going to be fun because you got a lot of teams that are playing outside of their paperwork right now. You know what I'm saying? You don't know who going to show up. So sports bettors, y'all real brave if y'all want to bet anything on any of these games. I'm staying away. I'm doing the NBA thing right now until the playoffs come. But let's look at some of these games next week and run through it real quick. Chargers at Raiders. Who the hell gonna win that game? Chargers and the Raiders. Shh. Man, I could bet on that game if my life depended on it. Vikings at the Bengals. What? Shit. Steelers at the Colts. After what just happened last week, how can you pick any of these games? I'm going with all home teams this week. Fuck it. Steelers at the Colts. Man. Broncos at the Lions. This is crazy. Giants at the Saints. Who's going to win that game? Bears at the Browns. Who's going to win that game? Falcons at the Panthers. That's about the best bet you got, but don't be surprised if the Panthers, you know what? I'm going to pick the Panthers to beat the Falcons, and we're going to revisit it next week. Watch what I tell you. Bucks at the Packers. Man, I'm just going to go with all home games this week. Jets at the Dolphins. Okay, I'm pretty sure Dolphins going to beat the Jets, right? But the Jets just put up 30. Shit. Crazy. Chiefs at the Patriots. I feel sorry for you Patriots. That'd be the one game I bet on right there. I'm putting money on the Chiefs. I told you, I'm doubling down on the Chiefs. They're going to start whipping ass. Texans at the Titans. After what happened last week, Titans just beat Miami. Texans just lost to the Jets. I'm picking all home games except for that Chiefs game. 49ers at the Cardinals. Put money on the Cardinals. Yeah, they're going to beat them bad. Commanders at the Rams. Pretty sure the Rams will win that one. Cowboys at the Bills. That's going to be a good game. Don't be surprised if the Bills catch them. I think I'll pick the Bills. I'm picking all home teams. I tell you, Ravens at the Jags. Ravens should win that game, but they've been playing suspect. I think I might go with the Jags on that. And the Eagles at the Seahawks. Man, the Seahawks might get Philly. Damn. This is the hardest week I've seen in a long time. Sports bettors, stay away from this shit. You don't want no parts of this shit. Until next week, I holla 100.